Have you ever noticed how some people in their 70s and 80s move with a kind of ease that makes you forget their age? They bend, twist, even squat down without groaning or bracing themselves. It almost looks strange, especially when you compare it with how stiff and cautious many of us in the US become after 60. But here's the fascinating part. In Japan, elders practice 3 unique movements every single day that help them maintain youthful flexibility, protect their joints, and keep their brains sharp. These are not your typical sit-to-stand or walking exercises you always hear about. No, these are cultural, deeply ingrained, and science is now revealing why they're so effective. Before we dive into them, I want to ask you something because I love hearing from you. Drop a comment below with your age and where you're watching from. It helps me connect with you, and you'll also see how many others your age are on the same journey toward better health. Now, let's get into it. The first movement may surprise you because it isn't done in the gym and it doesn't look like exercise. In fact, it's something Japanese elders often do after meals, while watching TV, or even during a family gathering. It's the act of kneeling into what's called seiza position, sitting on your heels with your knees folded underneath you. At first glance, it looks simple, but let me explain why this movement is so powerful. When you kneel down into seiza, you're engaging every joint from the hips down to the toes. The ankles must flex fully, the knees bend deeply, the hips rotate inward slightly, and your back naturally straightens. In biomechanical terms, this is a full range of motion position that Western seniors almost never enter. And because of that, over time, many lose the ability to bend their knees deeply or to get up from the floor without assistance. In Japan, the daily practice of kneeling essentially greases these joints, keeping cartilage nourished and forcing tiny stabilizer muscles in the legs to stay active. Now, you might be wondering, but isn't kneeling bad for the knees if you have arthritis? Great question. Research actually shows that gentle, regular deep knee flexion, done slowly and within your comfort range, can help maintain joint fluid circulation. It's like oiling a door hinge. If you never move it, rust sets in. If you move it just enough, it stays functional. The key here is adaptation. Japanese elders don't suddenly start kneeling in their 70s. They've been doing it for decades. But even if you're starting later, modified versions like kneeling on a cushion or holding onto a chair for support can help you safely regain some of that lost flexibility. Think about it. How often in your daily life do you bend your knees past 90 degrees? Probably not much. Yet in Japan, that daily ritual of kneeling preserves mobility for decades. This explains why Japanese elders are far less likely to need help standing up from the floor compared to their Western counterparts. An independence that's priceless after 60. Now let's move to the second strange movement. This one looks like a mix between exercise and play. It's called Ragyo Taiso, or radio calisthenics. Picture this. Across Japan, every morning in parks, schools, even company offices, people gather and perform a short, rhythmic routine broadcast on national radio since the 1920s. It lasts only 3 minutes, but the movements are unusual. They involve exaggerated arm swings, torso twists, and side bends, done with almost childlike energy. At first, you might think that's too simple to matter. But here's the science. Those twisting and swinging motions activate your spinal mobility, keep your shoulders open, and improve blood flow throughout the body. A 2018 study on older Japanese adults found that participation in Ragyo Taiso correlated with better balance, higher walking speed, and even lower risk of falls. Think about it. How many of us in the West twist our spines daily? Hardly ever. We sit, we walk straight ahead, maybe we turn slightly in a chair. But side-to-side spinal rotation is essential to prevent stiffness, protect discs, and keep your nervous system sharp. There's also a brain component. Ragyo Taiso is done in a group, to music, in sync. That combination of rhythm, movement, and social bonding is deeply neuroprotective. Studies show that rhythmic group movement can lower cortisol, boost dopamine, and even enhance memory recall in older adults. So yes, swinging your arms and twisting your waist like a child actually has measurable cognitive benefits. Now here's something I'd love to hear from you. Would you feel comfortable doing a playful 3-minute group exercise routine outdoors if others were watching? Or would you feel too self-conscious? Be honest and let me know in the comments. The third strange movement is one you probably won't see at the local senior center in the US, but it's incredibly common in Japan. It's the deep squat hold, sometimes while waiting for a train, sometimes while gardening, and often just as a way to rest. Unlike sitting in a chair, the deep squat requires your hips, knees, and ankles to fully compress. It stretches the Achilles tendon, strengthens the pelvic floor, and demands core stability to stay upright. Western doctors sometimes call it the Asian squat, but really, it's just the human squat, something all of us could do as children, but most lose after decades of chair sitting. Now, why does this matter after 60? Because the ability to squat deeply is directly linked to balance, fall prevention, and even digestion. Yes, digestion. Research shows that squatting naturally massages the lower abdomen, stimulates the bowels, and can reduce constipation, a problem that affects nearly 40% of older adults in the US. Even more fascinating, there's evidence that maintaining the ability to squat is a predictor of longevity. A large Brazilian study in 2014 developed the sit-rise test, where researchers asked older adults to sit on the floor and rise without using their hands. Those who struggled had significantly higher mortality over the next 6 years. In Japan, elders unknowingly train for this test daily by squatting to rest, to garden, or to play with grandchildren on the floor. It's functional training hidden inside everyday life. Now, you might be thinking, there's no way I can squat that low at my age. And that's okay. There are gradual progressions. Holding onto a countertop, using yoga blocks under your heels, or simply practicing going a little lower each week. The point isn't perfection. It's about reclaiming as much of that natural range of motion as possible. Even partial squats done daily can start to restore ankle flexibility, hip strength, and core stability. Let me pause here and ask you something important. If you had to pick just one, kneeling, twisting, or squatting, which of these 3 movements do you think would make the biggest difference in your daily life? I really want to know, because your answers will guide me in creating future videos with practical tips and modifications you can safely try at home. And here's a little perspective. These 3 movements, kneeling, twisting, and squatting, aren't part of some special fitness program in Japan. They're woven into daily life. That's the secret. They're not exercise in the way we think of going to a gym. They're cultural habits, sustained over decades, that keep the body supple and the brain engaged. Meanwhile, here in the US, our cultural habits work against us. We spend hours sitting in chairs, staring at screens, moving in straight lines, and avoiding the floor as if it's dangerous territory. And as a result, by the time we hit 70, many of us have joints that feel rusted shut. But the good news is, you can start reintroducing these movements in small, safe doses, no matter your age. So now that you know the 3 strange movements Japanese elders do every day, let's talk about how you can bring them into your own life safely, starting today. Because let's be honest, it's one thing to hear about them. It's another thing to actually put them into practice when your knees ache, your balance isn't what it used to be, or you simply haven't moved that way in 40 years. First, let's revisit kneeling, or seiza. If you haven't been on your knees in a long time, your body may resist at first. The key is not to force it. Start with a simple half kneel on a soft cushion or yoga mat. Place one knee down, keep the other leg bent with your foot flat, and just hold that position for 15 to 30 seconds. This alone stretches your hip flexors, strengthens your balance, and gets your knees used to bearing weight again. Over time, you can try lowering both knees onto the floor, maybe with a pillow behind you for support. Some seniors I've worked with even use a low stool or yoga bolster to sit on while in seiza, so the pressure on the knees is reduced, but the joints still get the mobility benefits. What's remarkable is how quickly your body responds. Within a few weeks of daily practice, many older adults report less stiffness getting out of bed, less cracking in the knees, and more confidence standing up from a chair. It's like rediscovering a lost skill, and the independence it gives you is invaluable. Now, the second movement, Ragio Taiso. This one is actually fun, and I encourage you to try it tomorrow morning. You don't need music, but it helps. Stand with your feet shoulder-width apart. Swing your arms up over your head, then let them fall naturally to the sides. Twist gently, left to right, letting your arms follow. Bend sideways like you're reaching toward the floor, all at a smooth, playful pace. Doesn't that feel liberating? In Japan, millions of people do this in unison every morning. It's like a nationwide ritual of movement. If you're someone who struggles with back stiffness or rounded shoulders, this movement is a game changer. Gentle twists stimulate the small muscles between your vertebrae, which are often ignored in traditional Western exercise. And the rhythmic swinging motion actually stimulates your lymphatic system, which is like your body's drainage network. It helps flush out waste and reduce inflammation. Think of it as giving your joints a little morning shower from the inside. But here's where I want you to think bigger. Ragio Taiso isn't just about movement. It's about joy. Many of us grew up in a culture that treated exercise as punishment. Work off the calories, no pain, no gain. That mindset can make physical activity feel like a chore, especially as we age. But in Japan, Ragio Taiso is done with a smile, in groups, with music. It's playful. And research shows that when exercise feels joyful, you're far more likely to keep doing it. So here's a thought. What if instead of forcing yourself to work out, you let yourself move like a child again for just 3 minutes a day? Let's move on to the third movement, the deep squat. This one is tricky, I'll admit. Most Western seniors cannot drop into a full squat right away, and that's perfectly fine. Here's how to approach it. Stand near a sturdy counter or rail, hold on for support, and slowly lower your hips as if you're about to sit in an invisible chair. Stop when you feel your heels start to lift or your knees complain. Hold for a few seconds, then stand back up. Repeat this a few times a day. Over time, you can place a yoga block or a thick book under your heels to reduce strain on the ankles. You can also practice mini squats throughout the day, while brushing your teeth, while waiting for the microwave, even while holding on to the kitchen sink. The point isn't how deep you go. The point is that you're reclaiming mobility, inch by inch. And here's something most people don't realize. Squats are not just leg exercises. They're a whole body movement. Your core engages, your spine lengthens, your circulation improves, and your digestive organs get massaged. That's why in many Asian cultures, squatting isn't just exercise. It's a way to rest, to eat, even to use the bathroom. And the result? Lower rates of constipation, stronger pelvic floors, and better mobility late in life. Now, let me ask you, if you started practicing even a modified version of these 3 movements daily, where do you think you'd feel the biggest difference? In your balance? In your flexibility? In your energy? Or maybe even in your digestion? Think about it and let me know in the comments. Because here's the truth. These movements are not magic. They work because they're simple, consistent, and functional. They mimic the natural ways humans were designed to move before chairs, before couches, before cars. And that's why Japanese elders who keep practicing them remain more mobile, independent, and vibrant well into their 80s and 90s. Let's zoom out for a second. Japan has one of the highest life expectancies in the world, over 84 years on average. But what's more impressive is not just how long they live, but how long they stay healthy and independent. A Japanese man in his late 70s might still be gardening daily, riding a bike, or even practicing martial arts. A Japanese woman in her 80s might still be kneeling at the dinner table, then standing up without a second thought. Compare that with many Western seniors who by that same age are often reliant on walkers, recliners, or assistance with daily tasks. Of course, diet and healthcare play a role, but movement culture is a massive part of the equation. In Japan, movement is not a separate thing you do at the gym. It's built into everyday life, and that's what we can learn from. So, how do you put this into practice starting today? Here's a simple challenge. Tomorrow morning, before breakfast, do 1 minute of arm swings and torso twists. At some point in your day, kneel down, even if it's just for 10 seconds with support. And once in the day, practice a gentle squat holding on to something sturdy. That's it. 3 tiny habits, less than 5 minutes total, but do them daily. And within a few weeks, you may notice you're moving with more ease, standing taller, and even feeling more confident in your own body. And I'll tell you something from my own professional perspective. Confidence in movement is one of the greatest predictors of longevity. When you feel comfortable bending, twisting, and lowering yourself toward the ground, you move more, you explore more, you socialize more. And those activities themselves, walking, playing, gardening, laughing, become the real medicine. So let me wrap up with this. The secret to aging like a Japanese elder isn't about adopting their diet, their supplements, or even their healthcare system. It's about embracing these strange little movements that keep their bodies supple and their spirits youthful. Kneeling to nourish the joints, swinging and twisting to keep the spine alive, squatting to strengthen the whole system from digestion to balance. These are ancient, everyday movements that modern science is now validating. And if you start today, no matter your age, your body will thank you for it. Now, I'd love for you to do 2 things before you click away. First, leave a comment below. Tell me your age, where you're watching from, and which of these 3 movements you're going to try first. Your answers inspire me and help this community grow. And second, if you found this video helpful, hit the like button and subscribe. That way, you won't miss the next science-backed tip to keep you strong, mobile, and thriving well past 60. Remember, your future self is built by the movements you practice today. Start small, stay consistent, and who knows, a decade from now, you might just surprise yourself with what your body can still do.